Welcome to the Audacity. We're so excited to have you all here. And honestly, if you've listened through the first 3 episodes already, I feel like we're old friends. I feel like I already know y'all. So come on in, get comfortable. We have an amazing episode for y'all today. We have Shar Henley on to talk about Foundation Femme Freeze, Project Femme Freeze, Operation Femme Freeze is what we're calling it officially. But it's all of those things. It's really just an amazing movement that she's been able to get off the ground with the help and support of our women's creator community that we're all really, really excited about. So we can't wait to share this interview with you and have you guys learn all about Operation Femme Freeze and all about Shar because we think she's amazing. And if you haven't met me before, I'm Lisa. I'm one of your hosts, and I go by YV Edit on TikTok, YouTube, all the social media platforms. And we are actually one host short today. Our little firecracker Gwen is out with cold or something today. We told her to take the day off because we did not want her to be miserable. So it's just me and Sovereign today.
Yeah. Howdy.
And we had a great time talking to Shar. I can't wait for everybody to hear that interview. I also want to let you guys know we have a Patreon that is up and popping. We have over 10 members in there currently. We have updates for you. We have early episode releases for certain tiers, and we just really want to get a community going on there so that people can ask about topics, so that people can vote on the kind of things we talk about, so that people can submit their mailbag inquiries. We just want to gather y'all in a place where it'll be easy to update everyone. So head on over to the Patreon. You don't have to be a paid member to subscribe. You can just subscribe. And if you would like to support us, we would obviously greatly appreciate it, as it would allow us to dedicate a lot of more effort and resources towards this podcast. So if you're able to, please subscribe. Please meet us on there. We'll have lots of updates for you, and we'll be interacting with the posts in there during certain times of the week. We'll have different hosts pop in and answer questions and chat with y'all. So get on in there. And yeah, before we get to our interview with Shar, Sovereign, what do you say we have some tea? My tea this week, and the thing that really is going to be taking up a lot of my thoughts in the coming weeks, is that Trump has tapped Russell Vought, I don't know, but he is the key Project 2025 architect. He has been tapped to lead the budget office. And I am just, to anybody that said that Project 2025 wasn't a threat, to anybody that was like, oh, this is all made up, this is outrage bait, whatever. I mean, there's no more damning evidence than to ask the key Project 2025 architect, like the man behind the whole idea, the man behind the plan, to lead the budget office. Seeing the kind of things that are in Project 2025 is horrifying, and let alone that the person responsible for writing, even bringing these things into reality, is going to also be deciding where budget is allocated is insane. It's going to allow them to really carry it out.
Yeah.
And so at this point, I think we can officially say we're cooked as far as that goes. Like, it's happening.
It's not funny, but
it's not funny. It's just funny that people tried to say that wasn't going to happen.
I feel like we're living in a time where, don't get me wrong, it's probably been this way since human civilization, as far as like the human nature goes. But the time we're in now is that it's almost like nobody wants to believe that we are cooked. Do you get what I mean? Like, we can see where things are headed, but there are so many people who are like, no, that'll never happen. No, I don't see this taking place. No, and it's just, how are people, the cognitive dissonance, how are y'all not paying attention to what's happening and paying attention to patterns? But I realize people are so consumed with bills and kids and spouses and gossip and whatever else, that they don't take the time to really stop and pay attention. And to me, those are the ones that are in denial, or they suffer from cognitive dissonance. I don't know which one it is. They're deluded. I don't know. But it's very frustrating when you're trying to speak to people and say, hey, we probably need to gear up for this, or we probably need to prepare for that. And they're just like, no, I don't see that happen. So frustrating. isn't it?
It's very frustrating, especially as an immigrant from the former USSR. I can absolutely tell you how frustrating it is. And not only how frustrating it is, but how possible and realistic all of this is.
Absolutely.
There's countries that have been through this time and time and time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
And America doesn't teach history, it doesn't teach its own history. And that's why a lot of people think that nothing bad is going to happen.
Right.
Because as far as some people are concerned, nothing bad has ever happened in this country.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
And it's like, well, yeah, I guess if you ask y'all's history books, and I talk about this all the time, coming from a country where I was forced to learn every horrific detail of every war, of every conflict, of every genocide. Coming to America and learning about the Native people, the colonies, slavery, all those things. It was like, oh my gosh. And then, people realized that slavery was happening and they realized it was bad. And then friendship won. And it's like, no, that's not how it happened. Like, that's not at all how it happened. Everything had to be won, scratched, little by little. Blood had to be spilt. And people think that it was just this thing where people all came to their senses. And then, the Pilgrims and the Native Americans, shook hands and danced in a circle and they ate a turkey. And it's like, no, that's not what happened. Damn it. I knew.
It was just the way you said it. Oh my God.
I knew I shouldn't have said.
Please don't get me started on the turkey thing again.
We can't do it. The turkey thing, for those of you who have no idea what we're talking about when we bring up turkeys, don't worry. We will fill you in the segment that we end up bringing it up with Shar. But yes, there have been reports and videos and interviews of other people confirming that the employees, some of the male employees at the Butterball Turkey Factory have been doing some, let's just say, very unsavory things to the turkeys. We have yet to figure out if this was happening while the turkeys are alive or after, or if they're frozen or what. I feel so bad. But we'll get to the bottom of it. I promise.
The way she just segued into it. Like, we don't know if the turkeys were alive or if they were frozen or what.
It's fine. I'm doing my best to have my best news reporter demeanor, my voice, but it's so hard. It's
My
so
side
difficult.
is killing me.
Every day we stray further from God's light.
I gotta use that. I'm so still in that. Oh my God. Is it just Butterball or is it
so far that we know?
Is it all the turkey factory or the turkey brands? Oh my God.
It's traumatizing.
It's not funny, but it is funny. So I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm just laughing at the irony of it, or no, that's not the right word. And the jury is still out on finding out whether or not the turkeys were frozen or not.
We still don't know. Yeah, just check your poultry, just be real careful. I have never been so thankful to be a vegetarian in my freaking life. The fact that I haven't had any piece of meat for 20 years. Because now I don't have to wonder. Because I know it's not the first time. I just know it's not the first time.
Please don't put that thought in my head because now...
I'm so sorry. I've been marked safe. But, people are saying they're doing things to pickles. It doesn't stop.
So basically, nothing's safety.
Yeah.
Nothing is safety. We just need to starve ourselves. We just go sit in the corner and just not even eat anything.
And speaking of people who voted for Trump, if you're disturbed about that, just know he's the one that rolled those regulations back.
Exactly.
The reason that things like this are allowed to happen is because there is no more oversight. And that's when depravity is allowed to rule.
How do people not see this?
It's frustrating because they're worried about, well, like you said, they're worried about the everyday things. I think a lot of it is the fact that they saw Trump getting things done in the office last time. And then we had this 4 years where Biden was not doing anything. And I don't know. I feel like people are just, they want someone who's like gonna get it shit done regardless. If it's good, bad, if it's helping anybody, they just want to see things moving. Like that's what matters.
But I remember when Donald Trump got banned from like most of like the social medias around the pandemic, I think it was. Everybody was cheering it on, like, yeah, good job. I'm glad he came. I wasn't as actually. Cause in my mind, the what I saw was the future of us being censored. I'm like, if the president of the United States could be censored because y'all don't like what he's saying, even though he says a lot of crazy shit, we're still supposed to be living in a time where we have freedom of speech, even though I don't agree with what a lot of people say. That's why I don't have Twitter and all that stuff, because people, it's just a cesspool of just garbage. But people have the right to say what they want at the end of the day, in my opinion. Because if we are okay with censoring one person, somebody who was the president, we're all fucked. And so now we're seeing in real time how we're being censored, just everyday normal people. And so I was able to kind of see ahead. I'm like, that's not actually a good thing. You know, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
And so that's where we are now, I feel like. And so I'm always kind of paying attention to that type of stuff. And then people are like, you know, they tell me I'm fear-mongering, or I'm being paranoid, or I'm just trying to divide the people, or I'm just, you know, and I'm like, no, I'm actually just looking at it from a standpoint, kind of like looking into the future, if you will, right? And seeing where it's going to head, where it's heading. And it's going to get worse. The censorship is going to get 10 times worse. In a minute, we're not going to even be able to talk about anything that don't have nothing to do with being a trad wife and, you know, making cookies and being barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. Like, I actually see a time coming. And if Russia banned women from being able to talk about being child-free, for an example.
Oh, yeah. And that's Russia. I mean, you talk
I don't feel like we're that far away.
You talk about China, talk about North Korea. Like there's countries where censorship is extremely real. Like you can't say anything about the sovereign leader. You can't say anything about, you know, the almighty. Like there's like things in China where they're like, no, the president doesn't poop. Like he doesn't fart. He doesn't go to the bathroom.
Oh my God.
You know, and they're not allowed to talk about that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think the United States is that far away. We're not that far away from it.
It could easily get to that point because Trump is very offended. Yeah, he's very easily offended. And he won't have anybody, quote unquote, disrespecting him this time around.
And he wants revenge already.
You know, I watched that clip recently of like Obama roasting him at the correspondence dinner. And somebody said that's where it all started. And I was like, damn, if he isn't right. Because he, you know, it was one of those things. It was like, all the jokes were good. Like it wasn't even like anything that far out of line, but you could tell that's when he decided. Like
I could believe that.
And I feel like that just goes with you, like kind of looking forward to the future. It's like the signs were there.
And I'm not trying to be funny, but like Donald Trump is pretty up there in age. The things that he wants to do, from my perspective, is going to single-handedly be the beginning of the demise of this country, or is going to be the demise of this country. If all the plans that he has in place actually goes through, we're cooked, right? And a part of me wonders, is that what he wants on his way out? And when I say on his way out, I mean like headed to the grave. Is that his purpose? Is that like the revenge he wants to get? Like, I'm going to leave out with a bang. Because Donald Trump, he could live to be 100. I don't know if I see that though. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm looking at it like he probably don't have that much time left, and maybe he wants to go out with a bang. And I'm just my brain is racing. Like I'm always wondering, like, what is your purpose? Do you really think that this is going to make America better?
No, because you can't
possibly think that.
Yeah. No, he's talked about he likes dictators. Like he's talked about he likes that there's certain people that are like strong leaders and they can tell their people like what to do. Like he's expressed very strong admiration for that. And somebody also pointed out in my little YouTube series that I did about the parallels between the US right now and the USSR and the collapse of the USSR. Somebody commented that Trump was like around 40-ish years old at that time when all that happened. And so he was like watching, and he has been in touch with Trump in touch with Putin ever since. He's always wanted to be like recognized by these types of people that, you know, when they go outside, the people are forced to respect them. People are forced to sort of like, and I think that's what he wants. And I think Putin is a very similar type of person in that it's interesting because Putin really has a huge grudge against the US. Like he hates America. So it's interesting that Trump is trying to kiss his ass. But like Putin has this huge grudge because the fall of the USSR, like Russia was a superpower and he's still kind of fiending for those days. Like he's longing for those days of like when Russia, you know, had like all these like nukes and all these, you know, scientific achievements and stuff like that. And it's like, well, now that like your country is literally brain rotted, like all the intelligent people have left, like you're not ever going back to that. You're not ever going back to being a superpower like that. So then he's waging wars against neighboring countries. And that's how he's going to leave his mark, you know, is he's going to conquer Ukraine or whatever. And then the countries next to it and the countries next to it, because it's going to get easier with every step. And Putin is still pretty young compared to Trump. And so I don't know, I feel like there's this sense of like competition or this sense of wanting to impress like these other leaders that can sort of like point a finger, you know, and people will fall down and you know, hit the ground and worship them. It's like that's what Trump thinks he deserves. Yeah, he doesn't want to lead a country. He doesn't want to like, he doesn't care about democracy pisses him off.
Yeah.
And what's funny is like you don't see any Trump supporters complaining about how things must have been rigged, even though things were such a landslide. And they were complaining that things were rigged 4 years ago when it was like by such a close margin. And it's like, it's very interesting that like all these people, all they have in common is control. Like they want to see things be controlled. They want to see somebody point a finger and that's all they have to do. And it's like, that is a dictator. You don't realize that what you're giving up is the only thing that's keeping you as a democracy together right now.
Absolutely.
And they're going to love it when Trump is ruling via executive orders and pointing fingers and getting shit done. But then once the fallout happens, they're going to be like, well, what happened? Well, it's all these other countries. And well, it's the Congress. And well, it's the Senate. And it's just going to be excuse after excuse after excuse. Because that's the way it still is in Russia. Putin still has supporters in Russia. There are people that still, despite everything, support him.
The mindset of people. I just feel like people are just naturally just weak, mentally weak. This is like a pissing match, a pissing contest between him and whatever the other world leaders or whatever you want to call it. And they're doing all of this at the expense of everybody else's lives around them. And that's the part that a lot of people don't realize. There are a lot of men throughout history. They made history a lot of times because they were so diabolical and people suffered. And that's exactly what I feel is going to happen here. And he's just going to blow up the spot and then disappear, AKA die. And he's not going to have to live to see the aftermath of a lot of this probably. And that's the part that bugs me the most, is that you're doing all of this and then you get to just go down in history as whatever you think you're going to go down in history as. But you imagine being that insecure that you feel like you need people to worship you. As if you're some kind of God and you're just another, what I like to call another dying human being. Somebody that's going to die one day. Like you're not getting out alive just like no one is. I don't understand this need for power over other people. Absolutely. That's just very weird to me. I've never understood that. Like how come people can't just exist and be okay with their existence and be okay with other people having abundance and be okay with other people having healthcare and living life? My brain is just not wired that way. Like I don't understand how.
It's hard to understand the depths of such narcissism. It is. And it's like, as somebody that's experienced that from like a parent, let me just tell you, there is no depth of it. It doesn't matter if you're their child. It doesn't matter what. They just want what they want. And that's like one of the most key things that I'm trying to get people to realize about Trump is that he wants what he wants and he's going to get it. He's like a tank.
Yeah.
He's going to run anybody over that's in his way. And he learned. That's why I'm saying he's going to get it right this time, because he learned from his time in office. He's learned that it doesn't actually matter if you have all of these qualified, well-regarded people by your side. That doesn't matter. Do you have yes men? Do you have people that you can blackmail? Do you have people that, you know, it's in their best interest ultimately to please you and to be a yes person? And that's who he's got by his side. There is no exceptions to that rule this time. Because, you know, you remember his first administration. all the people that left indignantly and were like, well, he's such a mess and blah, blah, blah. Like he knows now. He's not going to get those people again.
I feel bad somewhat maybe for all the federal workers that they're looking into.
Oh, yeah.
Because they just plan on replacing them all, I guess, apparently. I forgot how many thousands of federal workers around the country that they're planning on just waking up one day and they won't have a job. Something that they thought was protected because it's federal, and you have to go through all these clearances and you have to qualify to get federal jobs and all that stuff. And he can just, I guess, come in and just fire everybody. And you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine?
And again, people think this doesn't happen. This happens in Russia like every 3 years. The entire government gets fired.
I wouldn't even want to work for the government.
Yeah, and people aren't going to want to. And it's like a key pillar of democracy as well, to have more people, working for the government, because then it's like direct. But when you have, these insiders that are just trying to cut open the government and pull the money out, they just want to pull it out. It's another wealth transfer. They're basically just looking for ways to loot this country. And that's what's happening.
And what good is that? Like, I'm always thinking kind of like a few steps ahead. I'm like, you're going to do all of this, and the only place you're going to go is the ground to rot and become worm food. And you'll never come back. So I can see if you were trying to like take all the wealth, and I could see it would make perfect sense to me if you could take all of this into an afterlife and live wonderfully and start all over with riches and property and luxury and whatever else. But you're literally just going to become a skeleton in the ground.
I think it's just revenge.
And that's the part that I don't understand. I think like you're doing all of this for nothing.
He got his feelings hurt. I think Obama got up there and roasted him so bad that he just literally, it just broke him like in that way.
That's what it took. So he's that insecure.
Yeah. Oh, that is the hallmark of a narcissist. They will never be secure, no matter what you do. There's
Terrible.
Yeah.
That's a miserable existence.
It really is. And that's why I don't fuck with them anymore. That's why it's like, I will be anywhere but where those people are.
I know.
Because it's a bottomless pit. It's like a black hole, quite literally.
Isn't that like, they consider that to be a brain chemistry thing? Or is it like, is it started in childhood some way?
They don't know. They have never really quite got to the bottom of it. They think that it might be a chemical imbalance. They think it might be like a evolutionary mechanism for protection or something. Like when you're born into like really hard circuit. Because right. And it kind of makes sense because like my mom and my grandma both are, and they both were born into horrible circumstances. So I don't know. I don't really know what there is to it.
Existence. Yeah. I couldn't even imagine living like that because you're essentially trying to get something that you're never going to get. You spend your entire life chasing something that is never going to happen, ever, no matter what you do.
And they call this delusions of fulfillment. So a lot of people think that narcissists have delusions of grandeur where they believe they're like greater than they are. But it's actually delusions of fulfillment. They full-heartedly believe that it's like the next thing is the next thing is the next thing. Like
that makes perfect sense. And I agree with that.
Yeah. So they're always just like snake chasing its own tail and eating its own tail. And like it's never happy. And that's it.
I'm glad I didn't turn out that way. Because I couldn't even imagine like, God.
It's literally miserable. And that's why you just can't be around them. And it sucks because there's one in the highest office in the world.
I was just going to say.
Yeah.
And we have one like dictating or trying to dictate everything.
Yeah.
Somebody said something about Biden. His last thing that he was trying to do was appoint some judges.
And like Trump went on Truth Social and said that any Republican leader or any Republican senator that wants one of the coveted leadership spots is going to push through whoever Trump wants to push through, and they're not going to let the Democrats elect any more judges. So he's been giving them orders and basically bribing them out in the open.
I think one of the things that makes me the most nervous is once he gets in, I know he doesn't have all the power, but he does have like executive orders. He's able to give executive orders.
He can do a lot with that.
But there's always going to still be people above the presidency, right?
Well, they have the House and the Senate too.
I know.
So it's not a whole lot of guardrails stopping him right now. That's where we kind of don't know how it's going to play out.
Right.
But he's going to try something. If people don't push through whatever he wants to do, he's going to go out to the extremes, and he's going to find, like he was going to push Matt Gaetz through using that Vacancies Act or whatever. He's going to find other loopholes like that. He's very well versed with that as a businessman, right? Because he's been using these kind of tactics to avoid tax loopholes and things like that. So he's like, oh, that's great. I'll just bring people in and we'll raid the Constitution, and then we'll raid the government, and then we'll just do whatever we want.
I'm not seeing this ending well.
No.
For him.
Oh, I hope so.
Only because whatever happens to him, I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be a Republican that does it. Because they're going to reach a wit's end once these people start realizing that they're affected in some way. It's always going to be that one person to go rogue that will do whatever is necessary to flip the tables.
I really hope so.
Do whatever is necessary to end that. And that's what I see happening. Whatever he's trying to push through, I believe is going to happen. But I'm saying hopefully it doesn't go on as long as we're anticipating, because some radical, as I like to call Looney Tune, will probably, end up snapping.
He really might end up, pissing off.
He's gonna gain a lot of enemies out of this, and it's gonna be on that side.
Absolutely.
In my opinion. That's just my own prediction. It's going to be one of them that does it, that does whatever they feel like they need to do to end it. And it'll have to end abruptly in some way. It's possible this could go on past 4 years. It's possible that it won't even make it 4 years. It won't even make it to 4 years.
That's my hope. My hope is that it somehow crumbles in on itself, and like these people can't, it's like a bunch of they're all after the same thing. And it's like, because of that, they eat each other up. It's like, I hope it's like an infight to end all of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we got to get to our segment. We got to talk to Shar. We gotta lighten this up.
Yeah. Let's get Shar in here.
Let's get Shar in here. Thanks, y'all. We'll be back with Shar after the break. All right, and we're back with the incredible Shar Henley. Let's give her a warm studio welcome.
Woo! Thank you all. Thank you for having me.
We're so excited. We were fangirling about you all last week.
Yeah.
Gwen is so upset that she couldn't be here this week. Our other amazing co-host, Gwen, is out sick today, and there's just been something going around. So we wish her all the best. Shar, I know you're also feeling under the weather, so it is extra, extra, extra special that you're able to be here with us today. And we're very excited to share more about you and your journey in general, but especially about Operation Femme Freeze, which you are the fearless leader of. And I'm just so excited about this project. I'm excited about the protest, just feeling like we're able to do something in this dark time that just brings me a little bit of light and joy, and feeling like we're making a difference with our money, which is what this country cares about. So with all that being said, would you like to just tell us a little bit about yourself, like who you are, what you do, what you care about, and how all of this came to be?
Sure. So I am a cultural critic and content creator. I speak about womanism and different issues that are impacting women in our society. I also really focus on amplifying marginalized voices and challenging dominant narratives. So pretty much everything, that women have been indoctrinated with and fed since we were children, and helping us unlearn that.
Absolutely. And your content has been so amazing. Like, I've just been binging your YouTube videos, your TikTok videos, and I'm just especially upset that with TikTok for reasons, because post-election, you had a video go pretty mega viral and it got taken down by TikTok. Now, did they give you like a reason? What happened?
So they took it down for hate speech, which it was not at all. I was giving a list of things that women could do to protect ourselves. We have a lot of laws that are impacting our lives. And so it was just kind of advising women on different things that we can do moving forward to kind of navigate this territory. And it got pulled down for hate speech. But this isn't the first time that this has happened to me. I have had other videos on TikTok that were going mega viral get pulled down. So I've had, 2 million, 3 million view videos. I had one that was about the Alabama brawl that was hilarious. I was just giving commentary on it.
Wow.
I wasn't swearing or anything. I'll send that one over to you too.
Please.
But it got pulled down for sexually explicit content, which there was nothing about that. I even took a screenshot of, the violation because it was so ridiculous. I didn't even swear in the video. And then they just chose not to pay me for that video. And they constantly do that to creators like me.
Absolutely, they do. And the only time, that I've experienced it is when I have spoken up about white women and like race issues and stuff like that. And those videos get reported by people that will say that there's stuff in there like sexually explicit images. Like they'll say anything. They'll say that it's copyright content when I didn't put any clips in it. They'll say that it was harassment and bullying when it was not harassment and bullying. Like I wasn't saying absolutely anything other than pointing out what I think is the obvious. And, to be fair, I think I had like a couple of men try to report certain videos like back when I first started on TikTok. But honestly, they haven't been as much of a problem as whenever I speak out about certain other issues, there's people that get really pissed off about it. And so I definitely see that common factor because I just feel like if the circumstances were different, people wouldn't be reporting you like that. Saying that it's like hate speech, that you just said that women need to protect themselves and that women need to, stay away from men until we figure all this stuff out. Like that's not hate speech. That's common sense.
Exactly.
It's definitely hate speech to men and male-identified women.
Yeah, pretty much anything that goes against the grain, they see it as an affront to their way of life.
Definitely.
And so it's funny because they keep saying that, there are a lot of single, lonely men. And, with Trump being elected a second time, they're saying it's because men feel like something is being taken away from them, and it's not that anything is being taken away from them. It's just that the misogyny isn't working anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
And they can't really handle this new landscape. And so they're definitely going after creators that have kind of gotten the word out, now that women are talking to each other more and learning. They do not like that.
Absolutely not. Because they feel entitled to women's attention. They feel entitled to women's labor, to women's just presence even. There's a lot of conservative men coming out and saying that they're just going to lie harder on dating apps to still be able to get with liberal women because that's how entitled they feel to your time, to your bodies, like everything. And I do feel like it really is common sense to be like, okay, let's like recalibrate as women, especially women that are still in the dating field, like women that are still vetting, trying to get to the bottom of things. It's like, no, we got to really get to the bottom of things because while these men are out here on these dating profiles, which that part of Operation Femme Freeze, I'm really excited to talk about because this is we're kind of getting into it now, but that's one of the biggest tenets of it. And so without further ado, should we talk about Operation Femme Freeze? You just sort of brought this idea to us, Shar, in the chat. And I feel like 24 hours later, the entire thing was just up. Like it was a thing. And I remember I told Shar, I was like, I cannot believe you and I have the same 24 hours. Like, how did you do all this?
I know.
And so, I've basically been waiting to ask you that. So how did that come about?
So, as we've discussed, I've had, some difficulties online over the last year with my account being attacked and, having like demonetization and like all sorts of issues for being outspoken. And so then once this new president was elected, I realized that we needed to increase our efforts to protect ourselves and also our finances and our safety online. So I figured that one of the best things that we could do is organize, because that's one of the main things that a lot of these conservatives are doing, and these men on these chat rooms, in order to pull down our videos. They're working together. So we need to do the same. And we have the ability to do it even better than them, but I feel like they have a very serious head start on us.
Unfortunately, with bro code and everything like that, yeah.
Yeah. Even, I mean, in like Fox News and, all the conservative media and all the bots that have been bought in order to pull down certain things. So I wanted to launch Operation Femme Freeze because I wanted us to be able to take some control during this really dark and uncertain time, especially for women, for minorities, and other marginalized communities. And so one of the main issues that we're trying to tackle is how we're going to, how we're going to navigate moving forward. So this December through January 1st, we are participating in a month-long protest against spaces and practices that commodify women. And so we are calling on women to withdraw from several different areas.
So women are withdrawing their presence. And I think that's one of the scariest things that we can do, honestly, to like disturb the system. I feel like that's been time and time again the thing that men really don't like us doing. They don't like us removing our presence at all. And they will try to, sort of make laws and force us back into those spaces. So what spaces are we withholding from? Like, where are we sort of removing our presence from that's going to hit these lawmakers, these voters, these people that we have to be around the hardest?
So definitely starting out with bars and nightclubs, because these venues often rely on women to attract more patrons. And so, they do ladies' nights and draw in the men, even though women are still paying for drinks, which I think is ridiculous. But it basically treats women as part of the experience for male patrons and reinforces objectifying dynamics.
Absolutely. Like they're putting you on a little hook as bait and being like, come in, there's drunk women in here.
Exactly.
And they love when women are drunk. That's why one of the first things that they do is offer us alcohol. So, and number 2 is dating apps. So for many dating apps, they depend on female users to attract the men in, and the algorithms commodify those interactions. And so we are encouraging women to delete profiles and then also delete the apps from their phones, because apps use inactive accounts to attract male users still.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So even if you're not active, they'll still use it. And then if they realize that they're starting to lose, females, they'll make fake accounts in order to still attract the men. And so that's why a lot of men get on and realize like, hey, like this person isn't responding, because they're like using AI.
Oh my God.
Which is actually kind of funny when you think about it. Now, it's not funny. It's not funny to be a woman whose profile is still being used against your will. But it is funny for the guys that are like chasing a ghost, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that is really funny.
And it also should be like even more of a reason for y'all to get off these apps. Like y'all realize men will talk to a chat bot and not realize it for days. Because they don't ultimately care about what is being said. Like they care about whether they're going to get into your pants at some point or not. And so it just should be all the more reason. The fact that they're out here like chatting away with these bots, hoping that somebody will touch their dick. Like, it's just too much. It's like, why are women on there in the first place? My husband and I got married before, the whole dating app thing. Like, we didn't meet on a dating app. There's nothing wrong with meeting on a dating app, but I had no idea when I, first saw videos of like, people screen recording or like recording other people using the apps. I did not realize that it was so, commodified. Kind of like you guys were saying, like you're literally just swiping between, especially as a man, you're just swiping one beautiful woman after the next. And like, it's just like, what is that? Like, it feels so
pimp hoe type of situation.
Yeah, sure. It just feels like, somebody's swiping through a catalog.
Yeah.
And they're like, this one, that one. And like, even the fact that most men will just swipe through indiscriminately and like say yes to everybody, whereas women are like reading the profiles. They're like looking at the pictures. Like we're interacting with these apps very differently too. Like some men are really just on there to flip through a catalog.
I've seen that.
That's one of the things I hear a lot of women complain about is that most men don't ever read the women's profile because it'll say right there, I'm child free. I will not date men with kids, or I don't like religious men, or whatever. And the guys will still, they don't care. They're swiping through pictures. And I also learned a few months ago that a lot of the dating apps are set up on purpose for you to not actually meet like the love of your life. They don't actually want you to meet them. They have it set up to where you're going to keep swiping because you get some sense of dopamine feeling like all these people like me, all these people are matching with me. So and then with the memberships, like I don't know if women pay, but the fact that you pay a membership is kind of weird in and of itself, but it's like it makes sense in order to keep
because why would they want you to get off the app?
Yeah, they want you to ever get off
that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when people realize that, because a lot of women and men too, but they'll complain about the dating apps are trash and blah blah blah. That's the reason why. Because first of all, and I did a video about how I felt about dating apps early in TikTok, like early this year when I got on TikTok. And people got upset, but I was like, it's kind of for desperate people, in my opinion, because it's like normal people will meet normally in normal circumstances. And every time we heard horror stories about women and the things that they went through with guys, 9 times out of 10, they met on a dating app. And I'm not talking about the normal stuff that you can go through with men just in everyday life. Like you can meet them at Target or meet them through friends. But on dating apps, it just seems to be a little worse because the women who are killed and raped and attacked and all that, they're like, oh, you find out they met on a dating app. So I'm like, a lot of these guys are like sociopaths anyway on here. And the very fact that you can be catfished would be my number one reason why I wouldn't even bother, because I'm like, I'm sitting here thinking I'm talking to a man who looks like Idris Elba, and then you meet them in person and they look like just, I don't know, something that crawled out of a dark hole. And it's just like, what the hell?
Or they're using pictures.
I've never had they use fake pictures. That's what I mean. I've never had a dating app though. So that's just been my thing. I'm just like, even before I learned how diabolical dating apps were, I just always instinctively knew that I would never use a dating app because I just felt like it was just weird people and people who were desperate. And I'm not saying that's the case for every single person on there.
You probably just figured out your chances were pretty high of like the kind of person it would attract. I totally feel you, because I feel like a similar thing happened with like Love is Blind casting, where like at first people were saying like, I haven't seen the early seasons, but a lot of people say that the early seasons were like really good and like really genuine. And you could tell that the producers were kind of trying to like match people up. And now it's gotten to the point where they're like particularly seeking out diabolical people for these women to match with because they like the drama. And I'm like, I feel like dating apps are kind of the same. It's like the same trajectory. It's like they don't make money off people being happy and getting off the apps.
Absolutely. That is exactly it.
Well, I actually disagree a little bit with a couple things.
Okay.
But
Tell us.
no, I
We
totally
love that.
understand, both of your perspectives on it. But so dating apps used to be much better in the beginning. Like there definitely was a focus on, how many couples they created. I remember like back in the day, like eHarmony, that was like their thing. They advertised like how many couples they made. And I've actually dated like some of my longer term boyfriends. Like I met them on dating apps. And, a lot of like perfectly normal people are on dating apps. But the issue is that like there's a bunch of like married people and not single people that use dating apps.
Yep.
And they, like ruin, like they like spoil the batch for everyone.
Yes,
And then
I can see that.
one of the things that the men who worked in tech, who were creating the algorithms and all of that for dating apps, they started realizing how many matches the women were getting and they hated it. And so they changed the algorithm to make it against women's favor. And that's another one of the reasons why dating apps have like really sucked in the past few years.
That makes perfect sense.
They're like trying to make women more insecure. Is that what it is? They're trying to create like a lack mentality around.
Oh, for sure.
And cater it towards men feeling like they have all these options.
Mhm.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that makes sense because, yeah, it's like you used to know a lot of people that met online and like have been married for years. Like, I feel like, especially like you said, Shar, in the early days, like it seems like it was a lot more of like a concerted
Genuine.
effort. Yeah, genuine. And now it feels like it's just like another porn type website where you just get to flip through like thumbnails of different women and just being like, let me shoot my shot. Maybe I'll get one of them to, I don't
It's
know.
just like how reality TV used to be. Reality TV used to actually be interesting, and it started out, I think, being way more genuine than it is now. Now it's all about ratings. It's like, let's just get the ratings. We're going to interview people and learn everything about them, know what their triggers are, make sure we're triggering them online
Exactly.
while we're recording it.
Yes.
And I think just like everything else, it just evolves. So like I remember when Shar just brought up eHarmony, I remember that and Christian Mingle and all of those
Plenty of fish.
dating. Yep. I remember that from back in the day. Now that she bring that up, I still was not into the whole dating thing, the dating app thing, but I do recall that back then it was taken a lot more seriously. I think that's how it is when things first start. There's probably usually like a genuine feel to it. Like the person who invents stuff, usually it's like they're coming from a good place. And then somehow, some way,
Capitalism.
it gets infiltrated.
Exactly.
And then, then it just
becomes
changes
about money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Capitalism ruins everything.
You're right. I never really thought
And the
about
proof
that.
is around every corner. So that's why we're also hitting people in the wallet. Right, Shar? What's our third point?
So my third point is holiday consumer spending. That is another really big one. So women actually spend 30% more and invest 30% more into our households than men do. So for the holidays, if the children want a present or, women want to make it special, they'll pick up that extra shift or shell out, those extra dollars in order to make things special for the kids. And the men do not really do this on average. And so the holiday, all like the ads and everything is trying to hit the pockets of women because we are the bigger spenders. And so we are pulling back on that, especially because we have this upcoming administration. We're going to have, higher tariffs. They're really coming for women in our pocketbook. So women need to, pull back and, take that money and maybe invest it in a 401k or something. Because another thing that happens is that with women investing all this money into the families and the husband's not doing that, when it comes retirement time, women have less fun money to spend and less money to do the things, they want to do, and they need the input from the husbands. And the husbands, they love to control with money, love to control the finances. It's really upsetting. And it's something I want women to think about a little bit more. And that's why it's one of the items on this menu.
Absolutely. Sovereign and I were just talking about this in our third episode too, that women view money and stuff as communal and like this is our money. Whereas men are like, it's to a point, if they're like, I'll pay the bills or like I pay 50% or whatever. But still, a lot of their extra, they'll be like, oh, I'm going to go buy myself some golf clubs. I'm going to go buy, in fact, a lot of women are like, I don't know what to get my husband for Christmas or his birthday because he just buys whatever he wants. And so it's like, yeah, just put your pocketbook away. Don't spend your hard-earned money. Don't spend, as I said in my video, don't spend your hard-earned money and your time, especially too, going out shopping for his mom, going out shopping for his sisters. Like, if you want to get them a gift, that's fine. But if you're like on his behalf doing things like shopping for his family or shopping for the kids and like, there's this running joke that like when everyone on Christmas is opening their presents, the dad is just as surprised as the mom.
Yeah, it's not funny.
Yeah, it's not funny. It's gross. It's like, oh, so the mom literally does everything in the house. She's responsible for everyone's happiness. She's responsible for the surprise element, and her stocking is empty and she has no gifts under the tree. And like, it's a conversation around the holidays every single time. So ladies, please, this year, actually don't do it. Just don't do it. If your husband's ungrateful, don't get him a gift this year. If your husband doesn't celebrate you on Mother's Day or on Christmas or on your birthday, don't get him a gift. Don't get his mom a gift. Let her be upset. let her be upset at her precious baby boy.
Right.
Because it's really his fault, And if you must, like, get presents for the other women in your life that are like-minded. You don't have to feel pressured to buy like office gifts for people that don't care about you, for people that
Absolutely.
probably voted against your rights. Like, all this whole industry is so hell-bent on getting women to spend money. That's why they make like these little, every year it's like these little office gifts, like get more and more like bath sets and like mugs and like my favorite coworker and like all this crap, so that women have more and more and more mental load. It's like you go into a Home Goods and you're looking around and you're like, oh, they're right. I do need to buy my favorite coworker a gift. I do need to buy my boss a best boss ever mug. No, you don't. You literally don't. These people do not appreciate you anyway, especially if you're a woman in the workplace. You're probably having to do all this shit work and nobody cares. And then nobody gives you a raise. So stop spending your money on these people, honestly. And if you must buy gifts like that, we also emphasize that you should buy it from a Black or brown owned business, because we still want to make a statement about where we want our money to go. Yeah. Like, we want to support communities that have to get stuff out of the dirt themselves, that can't rely on family money or can't rely on like, immigrant communities also. Like, they can't rely on like money that's just there for some people, for people that are privileged. So we want to put our money where our mouth is as much as possible.
Hear, hear. No notes.
and I will say that first year that you decide you're not buying everybody Christmas gifts or you're not buying everybody whatever, it may be hard, but once you get through that first year, you're going to realize that you really don't give a damn. Because if people are going to say anything about you, they're going to say it that first time that you don't buy anything. Or maybe you might not hear anybody say anything about you at all. But you're going to feel how good it feels to save all that money. You're going to look around like, dang, I saved money. And it's going to become easier to do the next year and the next year. So,
absolutely.
And I'm speaking from personal experience, because the last few years I have been doing what I call canceling Christmas. And I literally got that from the show Power. I don't know if you ever watched Power.
No.
I love Power.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tommy and Ghost was always talking about, we canceling Christmas on these motherfuckers, right? So that's where I got that from. So I'm like, I'm canceling Christmas. And I actually put that on TikTok about a week ago, and they took my comment down. And I forgot what they called it. Something to do with, it was something ridiculous. And I'm sitting here like, are you serious? I appealed it, and I think they let it come back. So I'm just like, what the hell? But I was saying I'm canceling Christmas, which means this year I'm not buying anybody anything that I don't need to buy. Like, if I don't need to buy you something, like I'm going to buy my boyfriend something, obviously, maybe a couple friends. That's it. Like, I'm not going through this whole list of people. Like, no. And it's going to feel kind of weird at first to the ladies out there who are thinking about this, but just know it gets easier. That first year, you're like, okay, shaky. The next year is like, fuck it. It is what it is. We're not saying to shun everybody and shut everybody out, but it's just to show you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. You don't have to like go broke, because it's people that go broke every holiday season.
Yes.
For what? For a bunch of people that don't appreciate it anyway. And so, and then how many times do people go out of their way for you? A lot of times you will find that it's not very often. So it's really not about trying to stick it to anybody. It's really more about keeping your peace of mind and keeping your money.
And removing your presence from places where people feel entitled to it. Like, absolutely. They're like, oh, mom will take care of Christmas. My wife will take care of Christmas. Every year she just does that. Well, what if she didn't?
Exactly.
What if one year you just didn't? I mean, obviously do what you got to do for your kids. Your kids should never have to suffer because of a man. But if your husband fully expects like Christmas presents under the tree, but he never gets you any, let this be the year. Let this be the year.
And one more thing. I would love to hear the news report on record low Christmas sales for the end of 2024. Like, I would, and I know the one person who will report on this, I know Shar will too, but Burb will absolutely be the one. She will be the one to report. I'm going to be looking for it, because I already know she's going to be like, oh, the sales were down 40% or 50%, more than usual. That's our
fingers
goal.
crossed.
That is our
yes.
goal.
Like, let's go. Seriously, hold on to that money, because I really like, Shar, that you also said in that point that tariffs are coming.
Mhm.
Trump has been very clear about the fact that he's going to institute tariffs, and those things cost you, the consumer. In case anybody else is unclear on this, hopefully that spike in Google searches helped a lot of people figure out what tariffs are after the election.
Oh no.
But they're coming. And let me just tell y'all, as somebody who hails from a country where we dealt with like that kind of high inflation and tariffs and all that kind of stuff, that you're going to wish you had that money back.
Yep.
I'm so serious. You're going to wish you had that money back to buy bread with. So
I agree.
The holidays are like a game to the elite.
mhm.
It's the time of year that they get to extract the most out of people, and it's where all the advertising is extremely manipulative.
Yep.
Mhm.
So it's like, don't play into that. These holidays, it's just to stimulate the economy for those people. It's not for us.
Exactly. It's so true.
I'm going to continue on, if that's
Please.
okay,
Yes.
to the next item on the list. And that is, we are removing ourselves from social media platforms, basically interacting with male-centered digital media on these social media platforms. So we're disengaging from any red pill or manosphere content. Sometimes the internet likes to pop off on different topics from these dusty dusty podcasts or whatever. We're not doing that. We are not engaging with these people, stitching them in videos. We're blocking them if we can. And we're also disengaging from a lot of the male-centered pick-me narratives. So these are the content creators that are like, how you can increase your value, in the
Yes.
For
eyes,
men.
in the
Yeah.
eyes of high value men. It's
Yeah.
like, I can't even say it with a straight face.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
This is how you have to be
laugh.
more feminine, and the femininity crap and whatever
Exactly.
else. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, really? Because like you look around, most of the guys like can barely wipe their asses. So it's like,
Yeah, they're out here assaulting turkeys. Like,
I was
ladies, do
just-
Literally.
not worry about. So we're gonna have tea about that. It's gonna be a long tea segment. Oh my god.
male validation means nothing. It means absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Frozen turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, they were
Can
frozen?
get it.
Stop
Or
it.
dead turkeys. I think it was a 4. This is really messed up.
It's really messed up. I feel so bad. Like, not only are the turkeys getting slaughtered, but like, y'all had to do that before. Like,
Turkey sales are already like rough, like turkey. I mean, let's admit it. Like turkey doesn't really taste that good. Like
Right.
not
Right.
great.
right.
And the price of
that was
turkey
its
is-
only appeal. Yeah, it was like that it's a Thanksgiving bird. And now it's just like, I don't know. What are the you're rolling the dice at this point.
Hey, at least we're not the only ones getting fucked by men.
Oh, right? No,
Oh my
seriously.
Oh my God. They were.
I wish
Wait,
you guys
we
could
need-
see Ryan right now.
We need to
He's-
find out if these. I need to know if these turkeys were frozen. It wasn't even thought
Well, because
out.
listen, you know why most funeral homes won't hire men? The frozen thing is not a
Yep.
deterrent.
Mm-hmm.
The cold thing is not a deterrent.
What is wrong?
They will pull a human body out of the freezer.
What the hell is like what is going on? Like so like literally like sometimes I just look up and I'm like, what is happening? Why?
Shit. Oh my God.
Like like I need answers.
I know.
You know?
I know.
We need them, but like, do we want them
Do
at the
we
same
want?
time?
I know. Imagine if they really came out here and explained their thought process. Like, I don't think it would surprise anybody.
Like how do we fix how do we fix this? Like
Oh
this
my God.
like that's the reason. Like in order to fix
Yeah.
something, you have to ask why. Like the
Mhm.
psychology behind it, you know?
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
So we could move on to our
Oh,
next one because I know
I
it's
think
just a lot
I
to
just-
unpack there.
No, for sure. And I think it's so important. I do think it starts with like removing our presence as women, because clearly we're not mitigating this. You know what I mean? They're going to keep doing what they're doing. And they're not lonely enough. Like all the male loneliness epidemics in the world, it's not enough. They should be, at this point, kept away from women, children, animals, anything other than like other men that can defend themselves. Like at this point, they should feel like they're living on an island, because the good men will get it. First of all, the good men will get it.
Absolutely.
The good men will always be able to like secure their safe, because women are not trying to hurt men. You know what I mean? And the good men, once again, know that. So this is not a threat to the good men. This is basically just us saying, like, what more can we do? Women have been trying to mitigate this. Women have been wives, mothers, caretakers, sisters, all these things, friends to men for hundreds of years. And every day we find out something else horrifying that men are doing. And it's like, at this point, that's kind of the only choice you have, is just to like really remove yourself. And like, I also think a lot of these internet trolls that we end up, talking about, that's exactly what they were looking for. They'll say things just to say things, but really they're looking for attention. And I read this article earlier this week about how like Cybertruck owners have spoken out about how they got that car for attention. Or there's a lot of men that drive those extremely loud cars, it's just so that people will look at them, because they feel so insignificant in their real life that it's like even the negative attention feels good to them. Like it feeds the trolls. And I just love, Shar, that you included that in the boycott, because I do feel as though, even though I do these kinds of videos sometimes, but I do feel as though as women, we really spend a lot of our precious time interacting with trolls that were literally just out to get a reaction in the first place.
That's true.
They're energy vampires.
Yes.
They're energy vampires. And it's really sad, because masculinity, as our society knows it, is such a restrictive box.
Exactly.
It is.
And it's really sad, because, these men feel small because that box that they're in, that they have to shove themselves in order to be viewed as a man in our society, it's claustrophobic. It's, it restricts like who they are as human beings and their like ability to evolve.
Yep.
So they have to have car and like the exterior. Everything's very surface. They don't get to do that inner work that they would need to do in order to be better human beings.
Yeah.
That's very true. And I think in that regard, I have empathy for some of them because of that, because I feel like, they feel as though they can't tap into their feminine side, because all men have a feminine side, whether they want to show it or not. It really does restrict them from wanting to be better, or from just being better. On that note, I feel like, okay, I feel bad for them, but at the same time, it's not enough for me to
It's not your problem.
Yeah, exactly.
They need to solve their own problems the way that they expect women to. Men have never helped us solve our problems. Y'all realize that? Not a single one. Like, women have always had to fight for it themselves, especially Black women. So it's like, there's absolutely you're not going to look up and be like, oh, help me. And they're like, no, the reason that they're up above you is because they've been oppressing you this whole time.
Yep.
They wouldn't be up above you for any other reason. Like, that's it.
And they have no intentions on really helping you for real, for real. They just
so they're just trolling. Like, at the end of the day, everything they do is just trolling. When they're like, male loneliness epidemic, what about Men's National Day, International Men's Day? What about Father's Day? And it's like, where are you? Like, where?
It's because the women did organize it for them.
Exactly. Yes.
Because no woman organized it for them.
And that's why removing our presence is so vital.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'm going to move to the next one, which is our final area that we are withdrawing with in our protest for the month of December, all the way to January 1st. And that is, we are withdrawing from earning below our worth. So women, business owners, and, women who are working for any type of company, any type of contract worker as well.
Mhm.
Everybody is encouraged to raise rates, like ask for that raise, ask for that bonus. And especially for my 304s, this is the time to jack up those prices because there's going to be an extreme premium on kitty cat moving forward, especially because women are understanding how dangerous it is to be around these XYs. So, women are just encouraged. Like, it's just a good reminder, especially with, some of the upcoming challenges with this economy.
I was going to say, blame it on the tariffs.
Exactly. Thoughts and tariffs,
Yes. Oh my gosh. Can you please tell us about that merch?
Yeah.
Oh, I just seen that today too.
It's so good. Tell us where to get it.
Thank you. I've actually sold like over 100 units so far, which is
Hell
amazing.
Really? That is so awesome. Wow.
They're a
Thank you.
great Christmas gift. If you guys want to get somebody a Christmas gift and you want to support, the right people, this is it.
I agree.
We're about to tell you where to go.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
So basically, as I was coping with the dumpster fire that America has been the last couple weeks, I mean, coping with really the dumpster fire that America has been,
Right.
I really wanted to focus on, art. I do like graphic design and all of that. And I was like, I need a project to just like, I don't know, just to like dissociate and also like get out like frustrations and like how I'm feeling. So I designed a collection. It's called Concepts of Condolences. Right now, it's just mugs.
Yes.
And I take like, all the phrases that we've been using as we, Trump supporters are starting to realize like, oh, I might have messed up. Oh, like tariffs actually affect me. And so, I have thoughts and tariffs on one, which is my favorite.
It's
and then I
so
also
good.
have concepts of condolences, which is just like all I've got is concepts, like concepts of thoughts and prayers, concepts of thoughts. Like that's all I've got because like I can't even right now. So
are you
It's
the one who came
amazing.
up with? Because I was trying to figure. I'm like, who came up with the whole concepts of thoughts and prayers? Or is it because of the Trump when he said he has
Concepts of a plan?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yep.
god! Oh my
Isn't
god!
that so good?
That is the best
Yeah.
thing ever.
So what's the
Thank
website?
you. So it's Concepts of Condolences, but right now I have like a store online that's called Concepts of Condolences.
Perfect. We'll link to it in the description. So y'all just go to the episode description too.
Thank you. So I'm gonna have like more products. Like I'm gonna have cards and all sorts of like sarcastic, dark humor items. I was just like, I've been wanting to do merch for a long time and I'm really pissed off. And
Right. It's the perfect
I was like, this is the time to get it done.
Yeah.
It really
So
is.
funny.
And I really hope people go and just blow it up even more.
Thank you guys. You're so
I definitely
nice.
want to get me a mug.
Yes,
Concepts of
for
thoughts and
sure.
prayers.
I'm
For
going
sure.
today. I have some friends I'm going to buy them for too. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah. So can you tell us, Shar, like what has been the impact of Operation Femme Free so far? Like we're all super on board. We're all here. Like I said, you're basically our fearless leader at this point.
Yes.
And we're following you into battle. But what has been the response so far?
So the response has been really phenomenal. I've had people of all different professions reach out, to offer their services. We've had, a lot of donations. I'll get more into why we're collecting donations in a little bit. But, we've had a lot of people like reach out for that as well. And we have been gaining a lot of subscribers for our mailing list because we are launching a blog. We want to highlight creators, that are for marginalized communities. We want to highlight what real advocacy looks like as well. And then just updates to, our projects and like what we're working on. So if you have not been there yet, check out femfreeze.org. And you can go sign up, you can donate, you can sign up for our mailing list and see a little bit more about what we're about. But it's been great so far. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I know that you said a lot of people showed up on the had gotten on the sign up list, and that it's just going to make it so much easier to send out updates. And so we really do encourage y'all to get on the mailing list. I mean, as far as I know, there's no like spam or advertising or anything else like associated with it, or, we're not selling anybody's like information or data. Just please get on board so that we can really organize. Like, that is the goal. The goal is not to sell y'all anything. Obviously, donations are important, but that's why I'm kind of stressing, like, this isn't selling you anything. This is something that you can't, like, if you can, you should want to support it. And so, yeah, if you could just tell us more, Shar, about the donations part and like what's the goal for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are raising money because we're creating a foundation or organization. We haven't decided which yet, but it's basically going to help keep creators like us online. Because, as we discussed previously during this podcast, outspoken creators face a relentless cycle of obstacles, from account bans and demonetization to targeted harassment, shadow banning, and bot attack. And so we're trying to build a network to shield creators from these threats and equip us to navigate these obstacles and maintain our platforms. So basically, we're creating like a coalition so that we can help give creators support, and it's going to be increasingly difficult with this incoming administration. Elon Musk is going to have a backdoor into these social media apps even more than he already does. And they're going to be messing with our demonetization, all sorts of stuff.
Yep.
So my goal is to help give that emotional support, that we all kind of have, like in our group chat, create other group chats for creators as well. Give people basically like a handbag. If you get attacked or your account's under threat, like, this is what you do. I also want to make sure that we all have identity protection as well, in order to keep us from being like doxxed, that sort of thing. And then I also want to help connect creators to more like brand deals and sponsorships with, Black-owned businesses and, brands that are about something.
Oh, that's
That
incredible.
sounds amazing.
Yeah, I love that, because I also wanted to bring up that a lot of times you can tell, like, if y'all don't think that the whole demonetization or taking down of videos is like not targeted, it is very targeted. They know exactly what they're doing. I've had so many videos where they were like, oh, it's a copyright issue, whatever. And then I'll appeal it and it'll be back up in like an hour, 2, 3, maybe. And then other videos, like I said, the ones that I did this week that involved sort of like calling out, whiteness and like racial hierarchy and things like that, and like white people not being welcoming in certain spaces. I submitted an appeal for that like 3 days ago, and they're still just sitting on it. And I've never had that before. And I know, Shar, when they took down that mega viral video, the one that they took down immediately after, they didn't even give you an explanation for it. It was just like a blank page. And so, I mean, if y'all think that, it's like whatever they're doing, it's like automatic, or like it's like some kind of a AI catching it, it's not. I really do at this point. I think it's like real people, and they're told like what can go through and what can't. And I think sometimes they take it to higher channels, and those people get to make the decision. Like, I really do think it's like actively monitored by people that are interested in what kind of content's going around.
Absolutely. And the same thing happened to me as well. Like, these last few weeks, I got my live taken down twice. And all I was doing was telling them literally word for word what was in Project 2025. And people reported it as misinformation. And I'm like, oh, y'all, if y'all would have read it, y'all would know that this is not misinformation. And
it's what's in the document.
Yeah, it's literally in it. And so that's one of the ways I knew I feel like I was being targeted as well. I can't say certain things I was able to say before. Like, I am like nearing 100K followers on TikTok now. And people always say that the closer you get to that, like, first big threshold, like, the more they pay attention to every little thing, and they start nitpicking. And I definitely see that happening. So, and then just by me talking about what I talk about, I'm one of the feminist child-free cat ladies, right? So she's the enemy. And, I already know moving forward that that's going to keep happening. And that's why I'm glad we started this podcast. And, you know, I have my own Patreon, which I haven't done anything with yet. But then we have a Patreon for the podcast as well. And I'm so glad that Shar is bringing this up as far as like organizing in a different spot off of these apps. We have to do that. That is so important because they're gonna. I think even as early as January, they're already in the works. They're already starting this. But when Trump is sworn in and all that, I already know this is going to go downhill for a lot of feminist type content, child-free content, you know, things like that.
Oh, 100%. And the thing is that they don't even have to try that hard to do it. All they have to do is pull our monetization.
Yep.
And that's like hard enough. I had my monetization pulled on YouTube last year. And just like trying to get started back up, that was like a whole thing.
I remember
So, you know, they're going to just go right after the money. And that's the purpose of our organization. It's to get ourselves emotionally and financially equipped to like keep the good fight going.
Yep.
You know?
Hell yeah. And I'm just so thankful that you had this clear vision. Like, we were all just so lost on what to do. I think a lot of us, myself included, like, was definitely, I don't want to say I was shocked with the results of the election, but I was shocked with the landslide. I was shocked. You know, it's like I knew that it could be kind of a toss up, but I was like really rooting for what I thought was common sense. And I was like, I feel like if we don't get this one, I'm losing faith in like I'm going to lose faith in humanity. And like, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I woke up the next morning and I was like, well, we're on our own. As a woman, you're just, you know, immediately, like in your gut, you know, this visceral feeling. And like the way that the men were reacting and celebrating is just like, there it is, that funny feeling, you know, is that here we go again. Like this rhetoric has been allowed to flourish. When men are given permission, like this is why I always say men are very submissive. They fit into all these systems so perfectly and they try to shove us in there as well. This is natural to them, right? They only do things when they're given permission, when they're given permission by a more powerful man.
Yep.
And that's exactly what's happened here. And now they're all lined up in line like little lemmings, ready to say your body, my choice to the next woman they see. I saw a video of a woman today talking about how her daughter, there's a boy in her class who was saying that he was going to rape a bunch of little girls and then get his dad to rape them too.
What?
Yeah.
I saw that.
And she was like, I'll send it to you, Sovereign. And this lady was like indignant. She's like, I'm teaching my daughter to protect herself. Like my daughter's going to deal with your boys for saying shit like that. But like, that's the whole sentiment is like men were real quiet, you know, for 4 years or whatever. And now that they voted this man into office, now they feel emboldened. They have this permission. And so when Elon Musk says something to mobilize them, like, oh, we got to get these cat ladies off the internet.
Yeah.
That's all he has to say. And the men will get right in line.
And to speak to that, that was another thing, a quick thing I wanted to add. The men on my platforms are allowed to say whatever the fuck they want.
Exactly.
They don't, none of their comments get taken down. There was a guy the other day who told me, in so many words, threatened me, like it was something along the lines of, it won't be hard to catch you. Like if somebody wants you gone, you're gone. And I reported it, and I actually forgot about it. This was like a couple days ago, and I reported it. I have not gone back to see the results. But the last few weeks that I've been reporting comments, it will say, we didn't find anything wrong.
Yeah.
We didn't find any harassment. Yeah. So I have to go back and check that. But that's another way that I know that we're being targeted. They want us silenced, and the men can speak and say whatever they want. And this election in particular, it really does make you feel like half of the country. And don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of people who did not vote, but out of the ones who did, it makes us feel like half the country is built on bigotry, hatred. In 2024, you want to believe that we've come a long way, and you realize we actually haven't. Like, and it kind of sucks, because I feel like when it comes to race relations, race issues, things like that, we are very much in the same place that we were a long time ago. And I didn't want to believe that for a long time, but this election showed me how right I've been this entire time. And I think that's why a lot of Dems in particular, and even if you're not even a Democrat, but you just voted this time for peace, basically, I think that's why a lot of us feel like you're losing hope in humanity. Because it's like,
Mhm.
this is where we are in 2024. We should be so much further. It makes you feel defeated in a certain way, you know? And that's why things like Operation Femme Freeze and getting our own platforms outside of the major platforms where we can communicate is so vital and so important, because things are going to get worse. If they're going to get better, we don't know. But before they get better, they still are going to get worse. And we have to be prepared for it.
Seriously. And Melinda Gates, if you're listening to this, we need the infrastructure. Mackenzie Bezos, if you're listening to this, who's going to open their pockets? All right. We need women supporting women. We need all the rich white ladies that are like, should I wear a blue bracelet? You know, like, how will people know that I'm a safe person? This is how. Do this, donate, sign up, talk to your rich friends, get them to donate, open up their pockets. Because if you really want Black women to feel safe, I can't think of a better way than to do this, because they're literally being harassed and demonetized on these platforms. I mean, Shar, you've talked about, I don't know if you'd be comfortable stating it, but you've talked about the amount of money you've literally lost from these kind of videos being demonetized and just taken down with no explanation. And it is a sizable sum of money.
Yeah, it's at least just in the year cost me $15,000. And honestly, it's probably cost me way more than that.
Yeah.
Because
Well, even videos they choose not to push out, for example.
Right.
Yeah, like sometimes they'll just say, oh, this is going to go on the FYP, so it can't be part of the creativity program. And then they'll allow me to appeal it, but then they won't view it for like a week. That's another way that they do that. TikTok, a lot of these apps are showing their asses, like they're showing us who they are. And I am going to believe them.
Yeah.
And so one of the other things I want to do with our organization, because we will have enough content creators, with enough platforms where we will have the power. Like if we want to snap our fingers and move everybody over to another platform, we can do it. These TikToks and these men who are running these other apps, we need to make it so that their days are numbered until they figure out how to treat us fairly.
Absolutely.
And this is how women have always had to do it. So ladies, this is nothing new. But especially for white women, this is your chance to like truly organize. This is something hard for white women to do in this country because of all the other things that are being used to divide and separate women. But seriously, like this is the time. This is not putting on a pink hat and like going outside. This is not putting on a blue bracelet. The reason why it's important to get on the sign up list and on the mailing list is because we're going to be silenced. So y'all will need to know when we're moving and where we're moving to. So that's why we want, people to have access to that email list, because once it gets time for us to hop off these apps, it'll be like too late for us to be on those apps telling y'all where we're going and what we're doing.
Absolutely. And I would love also to add one last thing to Sovereign's point that she was making about the election. I definitely know that we all felt discouraged and disappointed in Americans and the choice that we have decided to make for all of us.
Right.
But one of the things that I realized, and that is the essence of like the difficulties that like men are feeling these days, and also that white people are feeling these days, is that everybody was raised with a sense of entitlement.
Yes.
Like of entitlement, that if you do certain things or you look a certain way, that this is the type of life that you are supposed to have, or that you're owed because you're a white or because you're a man. And the thing is that nobody is entitled to that. And that is something that I think Black women specifically understand. And it's something that immigrants also understand as well, is that you're going to have to work very hard in order to get anything that you want. And so when you raise people with this entitlement, and then they have this resentment at other people that, haven't been given what they've been given to start life off with, and they're resentful and they can't handle it. And it's because you are the person that is going to be the navigator of your life. Like it's not any other real factors. And it just gets right down to that. Like nobody's coming to save you.
Absolutely.
you know, and because like as Black women, like we're kind of like born with this,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like it was never, we were told from day one, this is not going to be easy.
Right.
Right.
I agree.
So we are able to kind of forge the paths that we want to in life because we're with that from day one, even as just women. But like men, and especially like white people, white women,
Mm-hmm.
you know, need to get with it. Like you need to understand, like you have to take a hold of like your life and your circumstances and try not to take all of us down with you
No,
as you're
seriously.
discovering it.
And white women have always been able to fall back on different things other than the sisterhood. White women have had historically money, or they could mooch off of like male privilege.
Mm-hmm.
That's just always been accessible to them. They could always play victim and use white male privilege to protect themselves, or use money or status or something like that. But they're coming for all of that. They're coming for all of that. And then when they lose that, when they lose their proximity to powerful men because they're no longer young and attractive and submissive or whatever, they've realized a couple things about life. Then they want to come back and unite with all the women.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that we white women are good at. It's like, oh, now that life has kicked my ass, now I understand why all the other women were saying this stuff. And now I want to be on board. And it's like, just know that that moment's coming regardless. So you might as well do it now. You might as well get on board now.
As a Black woman, I wonder how I really feel about that when I think about it. Because it's like, do I want the sisterhood with you now? Or do I have empathy for your realization that every woman is going to come to sooner or later? You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of teeter-tottering. Because on one hand...
because for some people, they had to lose every shred of everything else just to come to the sisterhood.
Absolutely. I did a video on YouTube last year. The video was the main 3 things that men value in women. And all women are going to lose all 3 of those things sooner or later, which are youth, beauty, and ability to procreate. Those 3 things. At some point in time, we're not going to be young anymore, so we'll be considered old, which a lot of guys think anything over 25 is over the hill. So good luck with that. And then we're going to lose our beauty because beauty fades sooner or later. We're not going to be this, you know, super attractive, whatever you want to call it. When you turn 60 and 70, like you may still look good for your age, but, you know.
Conventionally, you're going to be further away from that standard.
And then every woman is going to lose her ability to procreate. Like because every woman, if you live long enough, will hit menopause sooner or later. So if men value those 3 things in women, what are you going to do when you lose those things? That's why it's important for women to have self-love, be self-assured, have confidence in yourself, and your existence cannot revolve around a man's opinion of you. It just shouldn't, because like I said, once you lose those things, most men aren't going to be really checking for you anyway, unless they can use you for something. You know what I mean? That's and I'm not saying that every single man on the planet believes this, but we do know that there's a huge chunk, I would say even the majority of them feel that way, whether they realize it or not.
Especially these men in question, the like white Christian men.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, they're the main one. They're the top of the list. As soon as they've gotten their wife to, have a bunch of kids and whatever else, these women all have the same stories. Eventually the man leaves them and they're dating a 23-year-old. It's like, you know what I mean? Or the trad wife to single mother pipeline, things like that. And those women finally do get to a point later in their lives after, like you said, life has beaten them down and it's like they want the sisterhood. But I try to tell women, I think it's important to have a sisterhood now and let it be genuine. That way, when that time comes, you're not scrambling for friends and then a support system. Because a woman like me, I'm going to be honest, as much as I believe in togetherness and wanting women to come together, I believe in closing the door behind me after certain women who have shown who they are and showed their ass. You can't come back in my circle. If you were my friend and you ditched me after you got married or after you had kids, whatever, and I was nobody, and then, those friends that come back after their husbands whoop their ass or they come back after they find out he's been cheating or whatever. It's like, now they want to be friends with you. No, you were never really my friend because of how you dipped out the first time. Or if you are a pick me and you're like, you have this kind of attitude towards women in general, to me, you're not a part of the sisterhood and it's not genuine. And I'm not saying that women can't recover from that and, be better and learn from their mistakes. I'm not saying that at all. But I feel like when you go on so long being that way for so long, so many decades or whatever, you may or may not have a spot when you come back.
Of
Do
course.
you get what I'm saying? Like you may or you
Yeah.
may not. It's literally going to depend on the women that you are around, and it's going to depend on where we are in human history. But I can tell you from the gate right now, the type of woman I am, once I close my door, that's pretty much it. So but I feel like it's important that women seek support and all that from other women, because women are going to be the ones to come save you 9 times out of 10 anyway.
Exactly. And I was going to say, for all the white women that are bristling against this, hearing this, these are called natural consequences. Okay, this is what we talk about when we say that men are going to end up with their loneliness epidemic, et cetera, because they haven't been doing the right thing all along.
Yep.
It's exactly transfers to you because both of these things are hierarchical, right? Like racism and the patriarchy, they function in the same way. So you need to understand that in the racial system, you are the men. Like we are the men. White women are the men. We have that kind of, unfair power at other people's expense.
That's so true.
And so it's unfair for us to be like, oh, well, yeah, but aren't we all women too? No, because you choose everything over the sisterhood before then you come crawling back and being like, aren't we all women? Can't we all just get along? Who's going to help me with my kids? Who's going to help me now that my husband's left me?
Just to Sovereign's point, I saw a video, I think it was yesterday, where this girl was talking about the presidential election and, a lot of liberals cutting out their friends and family who were MAGA.
Mm-hmm.
And Sovereign made the point that, you don't know that if you want everybody else to come along, like if you're like comfortable with that. And the girl was saying that it absolutely is necessary to shut the door on some people because during Hitler's rise in Nazi Germany, it was the people who were friends with the conservatives that voted for Hitler. Even if they were trying to do the good thing, they were trying to like hide Jewish families, they were trying to resist in some type of way. It was the friends of those people that were the ones who got everybody killed, that told on them to the Nazis, right? Like what they were doing. And having people like that is dangerous.
Yep.
I can absolutely confirm. And I was literally just talking to somebody about this that I care about deeply. And I was like, listen, I understand that it kind of sucks to like take space right now. I understand that a lot of people maybe don't even understand what they were voting for. But here's the thing. If we don't start addressing this issue now, then when?
Right.
Are we going to start talking about it when they're knocking on people's doors, trying to collect, they have a list of names that they have registered on their, registry that they're coming to collect? Like, is that when we're going to start talking about it? When they start bringing people out in the streets and loading them up into, vans against their will and taking them out to camps? Is that when we're going to start talking about it? Because every moment that we wait and every moment that we don't address it, it makes it harder to talk about it in the future.
Yep.
Shar, what you talked about, like that was literally a lot of people's experience. And this is why a lot of people are having these visceral reactions. Because I remember my grandma talking about things like this. I remember my grandma talking about it was your neighbors that would report you to the KGB. It was your neighbors that would snitch on you. It was the people that, you kept around even though they voted for bloodshed and you kept them around anyway, hoping to get through to them, to the other side. They will turn on anybody. That's what they've shown you. Yeah. If they will turn on somebody defenseless, they'll turn on you later too. If there's a cash reward for them, even if there's a pat on the head from the government for them, just saying, oh, good job, little buddy. You snitched on your friends and now we can put these terrible people in jail. And that's what it's going to come down to.
Well, if there's one good thing that came from the election is that it revealed who a lot of people are, and it's up to us in our discernment to believe them when they showed that to us.
You do better, you fare better in the world when you know what you're up against versus going out into something completely blind or believing that you have all these allies and friends. You're going to find yourself in all types of fucked up situations. But if you know ahead of time, you can better prepare for things, you can better protect yourself and move accordingly. So I totally agree with that. Like more than you could ever know.
Shar, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us and for sharing all of this incredibly important information. I really hope that our listeners were able to to really realize the importance of what we're trying to do here, and that it's not just some, bandwagon movement that everybody's just going to jump on. This is a long-term solution. This is something that we're looking forward to doing in the future. I mean, I know a lot of people are all about the 4B movement and stuff, and that's great. Do 4B if you want to do 4B. But if you're looking for something that we're hoping with your help will stand the test of time, that doesn't require, these major lifestyle changes other than how you spend your money and where you, sort of choose to invest your time, I feel like that really has legs. And so I just want to thank you for coming on here. I know that you're not feeling the greatest today, but this way we're really going to be able to get this episode out at the beginning of the month and get everybody on board. And I'm just so thankful that you were able to be here. And I don't want to I know we've already kept you over time and I promise not to.
No,
but
it was fun.
Oh, good. I'm so glad that you had fun.
I'm glad you did this Femme Freeze, and everything you're doing is absolutely amazing. I am going to order a cup from you, a mug or whatever. So I am very honored as well that you were able to come on the podcast and have a chat. And I really hope you can come back again in the future.
I would love to. Thank you all for having me.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys are amazing.
So are you.
All right, welcome back. I hope y'all enjoyed listening to Shar's interview as much as we enjoyed conducting it, as much as we enjoyed talking to her. Please follow her on all the socials. Everything will be in our show notes. Please go check out Project FemFreeze, femfreeze.org. Please sign up for the mailing list. Please donate if you can. All right, it's time to get into our mailbag. We have a longtime listener who is super excited for this podcast. We so appreciate your support. And she says, I'm a 28-year-old white woman writing in for advice about my relationship with my boyfriend, a 29-year-old Black man. We've been together for 8 years, and while there are some red flags I now realize I shouldn't have ignored, like porn, his social media habits like following and liking revealing photos of women we know in real life, that's not the main reason I'm reaching out. She says, here's a quick summary. We were together for 2 years before moving in together. Then, 5 years of our relationship, we lived at his mom's house. Rent is expensive, and we got to help her out financially. We were splitting bills 50-50 while covering our own personal expenses, phone, car, etc. During that time, he often said he wanted to be able to take care of me financially someday, which I really appreciated. When we finally moved into our own place, he was earning more than me and suggested I only pay about a third of the rent. I was thrilled. I took on all the housework, feeling it was fair since he covered more of the bills. I also deep cleaned our new apartment before moving in. From then on, I handled most of the cleaning, cooking, and even paid nearly half of the grocery bill since he doesn't consistently shop with me. Things changed when his business slowed down and he got into sports gambling. He's had some wins, but overall he's in debt and seems to focus more on gambling than his business. I noticed a big shift in our financial dynamic. He stopped covering things like he used to, like gas for my car, which we always take because his isn't reliable, and I started paying for more groceries. Meanwhile, he's been moodier due to gambling losses, though he insists he'll hit it big someday. Over time, I started resenting the situation, especially with the added weight of past issues like him lying about what he was doing on his phone. I told him I didn't want to handle all the housework anymore. I even stopped doing his laundry and picking up after him, cleaning his dishes. He responded by saying that because he pays most of the bills, he'd feel taken advantage of if he also had to clean. I'm actively working on improving my financial situation so I can live independently if I need to, but in the meantime, I'm stuck feeling unsure. I'm wondering if I'm being selfish or if the situation is genuinely unfair. I also want to acknowledge the racial dynamic between us, as I know that adds complexity. Am I overlooking something important because of my privilege? I'd love your perspective on how to navigate this.
Did she say that they're just dating? They're not married.
Yeah, they're just dating.
So my perspective is that he has already tested this out to see what he can get away with.
Mhm.
And staying, I just feel like it's just going to get worse. So it's either going to be more of the same or it's just going to get worse.
I agree.
They don't have any kids together.
Mm-mm.
They're not married.
Mm-mm.
I would cut my losses and dip out. That's just me. I know that's easier said than done for a lot of women because they're in love and they, I'm unsure. Listen, men will test you and see what they can get away with. If he's not showing any signs of like improving or going to like meetings for gambling, if he's not showing any signs of like trying to get help or that he's improving his finances, I think things are just going to get worse. I would separate myself from this. I don't know how long it'll take you to find you a place without him. That was probably also not a good idea to move in with someone. But this can happen if you're married too. So,
Absolutely.
I would be trying my hardest every day to get closer and closer to separating myself from this situation because things are most likely going to get worse. And he has to figure his shit out on his own. Because all he's going to do is drag you down. And then you're going to find yourself in more financial debt and possibly bad credit, or if it's only one car, I've seen this happen to a lot of women, wreck that car. You might get drunk or something, get into an accident, now you don't have a car. It's just going to get worse in every possible way that it could possibly get worse, in my opinion. I've seen this happen too many times.
And that's when he'll start asking for kids too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. If he senses that you're trying to leave or that you're like backing away, that'll most likely be the first thing he tries to do. He'll either say it directly or he will just, do that thing, which is like lead you to being pregnant and not say anything to you at all. So bringing kids into the situation is absolutely a no-go. But yeah, you're right. I think that'll be the first thing he might try to do. But I would try to get out of this situation. It doesn't seem like it's gonna get any better. You already don't have any kids. You're not married. You're not obligated to take on his debts and his gambling problems or whatever else. I hate to be the person to like just run away from every bad situation. But I just see so many women stick by men like this and they end up losing everything.
You're already losing. You got somebody who's watching porn, looking at revealing photos of other women online. Like that in itself would be enough for me.
Enough for me. I agree.
Because it's like, you're just taking advantage of me. You want other women. You just want me to be the workhorse. You want me to be the woman that cleans up after you. So you don't have to do anything around the house. But you're lusting after other women. That's not love. Like, that's not respectful. Especially if he wants things like you to live with him, clean the house, use your car, use your money, all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, the least you can do is be respectful so that the woman doesn't look like an idiot. And she said it was like women we know in real life, revealing photos of women we know in real life. So it's literally embarrassing.
He's probably already cheating then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would end this.
Yeah.
How long did you say they were together?
8 years.
And that's another thing that keeps women in these relationships because they want to feel like, I don't want to feel like I wasted X amount of years.
I will cut my losses.
More. Yeah. Yep. Because if you stay another 5 years, that's just going to be another, 5 years added on to the 8 that you're going to be dealing with this. And things is going to get worse because when men know what you will put up with, their disrespect and disregard for you gets worse.
Goes through the window.
Almost never gets better. Yeah. You're not going to do yourself any favor by staying. I do know.
Absolutely. He's not going to wake up one morning and be the man you've always wanted. I'm so sorry. It just doesn't work that way. If he was going to be that man for you, he would have been that man already.
He would have already done it.
And it's not even good to have a man be that way for you. That's not even like a flex in and of itself. A man should be like that when you meet him. I'm just saying, like, if he was going to do that, he would have been doing it. I've been with my husband for 13 years and he's only gets better with time. It hasn't been a slow downhill thing where I'm putting up with more and more. In fact, it's been the opposite. So That's what you got to be looking for. And I know I just want to address the thing that she said in the end, like about the racial dynamic between us. Like, I think when somebody's treating you like garbage, it's not about that.
Did she say he was black?
Yeah.
I think the complexity that she's speaking of is that I'm just going to go out on a limb and say if he has a gambling addiction, he's probably a drunk as well. But that's just a guess. Does he drink a lot? I want to know. But by him being a black man, so first of all, the race doesn't have anything to do with it. But in this case, I will say the complexities of it is that a lot of is she a white lady?
Yeah.
A lot of why black men date white women, it has a lot to do with thinking that white women are a certain way. They have this idea that you're submissive and you're not going to argue and you're going to be a doormat and you're not going to check him when he's wrong and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying that that's true, but I'm just saying that a lot of black men get with white women because that is what they think. And I'm like, first of all, you haven't dated every white. There's plenty of white women who will put you in your place in 2 seconds. But they go into it with that mindset. I think that's what makes it a little bit complex because he's not going to change. Chances are, especially if he's one of those black guys that like typically only dates white women in general because for whatever bias he has against black women, men like that, they usually don't get better, in my opinion. Because I don't think they don't see a woman's humanity. Most men don't see women's humanity anyways, regardless to what race you are. But I think in his mind, he's seeing you as the quote-unquote ride or die that's supposed to stick by him, and he believes you are. That's why he's okay with all the things you're complaining about. He's okay with like letting it roll like that because he doesn't think you're going to go anywhere. I don't know. I wouldn't waste any time. I don't know. It's a lot I can get into. It's a whole lot to get into with that whole dynamic. But regardless to what his race is, though, I feel like the man is using you.
Yeah.
I just think that the only thing that makes it more complicated is not only is he using you, he's expecting that you're not going to go anywhere because he has the mindset that you're not going to leave him.
Because he's been able to do so much already.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what men do, kind of like we talked about last week. The other side of that coin is a man asking you to marry him after a week. That's also a compliance test. These are all compliance tests just to see what they can get away with. And a man who loves you wouldn't do that. He wouldn't be pushing. He'd be pushing himself to be better for you. He'd want you to be impressed with him. He'd want you to, just like we all do when we love each other. It's not specific to men. It's like, I want to be a better person because of the people I love and the people that love me. But a lot of men don't think of it in terms like that. They think of things very transactionally. And so that's how you end up with a situation like this. The transaction favors him. So he's still there. But he's just still there until somebody better comes along.
And then when that something better doesn't work out, he'll come back.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your question. I really hope that I don't even know how to end this. I hope you dump his ass. I don't know. I hope that you open your eyes to your worth and realize that anyone that's just trying to kind of extract resources out of you does not want the best for you. And this is just kind of how it seems. If you're doing the cooking, cleaning, all this stuff, that's worth a lot more than just like a third of the rent that you're not paying for or whatever.
I totally agree.
All that stuff helps men get ahead and succeed and even just not feel the consequences of their actions as much. Because the way he's living right now, he should be living broke, cold, alone, hungry, all that stuff, because he's just gambling his money away. So it's almost like you're also enabling this behavior. So if you really do want him to get better, one of the best ways to ensure that is to leave and to take away that life source that you're basically giving away right now for free.
Yeah, she's standing in the way of his karma. She's not allowing his karma to take, because if he was single and not in a relationship, he would be probably homeless, no car, because he's gambling his money away. Those would be his natural consequences of his actions, no matter who you are, man or woman. That's just natural consequences. You will lose everything. And by you being there, you're saving him
your shield
from his karma. But you think, I'm not going to tell you what you think, but a lot of women who do that believe that they're helping the situation or that he's going to appreciate the fact that you're shielding him from his karma. But really, it's just putting you in a placeholder position. And it's just not a good place to be when a man is using you as a placeholder. I don't know if she has any goals of getting married or anything like that, but that ship is probably already sailed. 9 years they've been together. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it sounds placeholder-ish to me.
Yeah. It's like, how do you picture that? Like, one day he's just going to wake up and propose to you. Like, he's been putting it off this long. Like, men like this will just keep putting it off, or they'll give you a shut up ring and get married in a courthouse. Like,
and then that'll be 10 times worse because now you're going to take on his debt, his bad credit, his gambling addiction, his porn addiction.
Exactly.
Now he's going to really not have any incentive to change and be better because, hey, you married me like this, so now I don't have to change anything. So I wouldn't even marry him even if he proposed.
Thank you for saying that. Because yes, that's the part that really needed to be said. Because legally, you need to protect yourself from this man.
Absolutely.
So that's what we'll say. Thank you so much for writing in. We really hope that you will do what's best for you in this situation. Lots of love out to you. Our recommendation this week, we're just going to double down. We're going to go in on the femfreeze.org. Please check out the organization, donate, sign up, be part of the mailing list. We'd love to have you there. And thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please remember to follow, subscribe, check out our Patreon, follow all of your hosts, follow Shar Henley, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Godspeed.
Good day.